Hey everybody, it's the interview queen Alicia Atout here, and I am so excited to welcome you all to my interview with Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me today. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for joining me. How have you been? Are you keeping sane over there? Tell me a little bit about what you've been up to.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well so far. I'm usually pretty introverted when I go home. I get my fill of people and interaction out on tour. So I'm used to laying pretty low, but yeah, I'm getting a little antsy here and there. I've been inside for about a week straight. I missed a couple days of the lockdown here while we were coming back from South Africa,
Right.
which was another story in itself. That was kind of nerve-wracking to be gone when all this shit was going down, and we were wondering, like, are we going to get back in one piece, or are we going to get stuck somewhere? And after many flights, my last flight was from Detroit, where the band is based, out here to New York, and I was one of like 10 people on the plane. It was kind of surreal.
Yeah, it feels completely different. I mean, how many, or overall, when it comes to how many flights you had to take home, I mean, how many hours were you in the air? Probably much more from that trip.
Oh yeah, it was when it's the whole band traveling together, and the promoters are paying for the flights. They usually get the cheapest flights with the most connections, So
Oh,
it was
I've
pretty.
been there.
It was hellish. It was about 30 hours altogether of traveling, and it was brutal. And this whole thing was definitely on all of our minds, and I still don't know if I have it or not. We'll see in time, I guess. But I'm just kind of hanging out and waiting. And we had that tour coming up with Testament, which is definitely dissolving now at this point, and they have members that got it over in Europe on their recent tour. So yeah, I feel for those guys, and definitely just a really strange time for all of us, I think.
Before the strange time and kind of the darkness was overwhelming everything, at least while you were in South Africa, it looked like you guys had a really awesome time over there. Even seeing you with all of the cats and stuff, like it seemed like you got to at least explore a little bit and enjoy that side of things.
Yeah, it was really fun. The panic hadn't really quite set in over there yet. I think now, like, they're taking it a little bit more seriously, but it was fun. Definitely cool to get out somewhere new that we haven't been. And I think with each record, we're kind of afforded new opportunities to go new places that we've had on our list, And we've seen South Africans showing up on our social media for years now. So it felt really good to get out there and kind of kick the dust off. We haven't played in about 6 months before that. So good to be back in action, but this is definitely throwing a wrench in our very near future plans. We have the album coming out during this, you know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
kind of where it's going to stop foot traffic as far as people going to the record store to get it physically. But so far, things have been good. We know we've had a lot of pre-sales, and which is very exciting. And we're breaking some records over at Metal Blade as far as pre-sales numbers.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it feels really good. So just hoping the album can kind of be something to keep people's mind off of all their troubles right now.
Well, let's get into the album, Verminous. I mean, it has been 3 full years since you guys have released music, so it must just be one of those moments where in your mind you're excited, you're anxious. You must be nervous now with all the stuff going on, of course, like you just said. But does it feel like 3 years have actually gone by for you?
Yeah, it has. They've all been jam-packed with activity pretty much as any other year in our existence. I mean, we tour so much. We try to really cram our schedule as packed as we can, and try to maximize like opportunities. And we took so long between these two records because just Nightbringers was still popping off. Like people still wanted us for tours, and there was a high demand still for the band. So we kind of like pushed the normal schedule back a little bit. And
It's a good problem to have.
yeah, for sure. We landed that Meshuggah tour kind of late on, and Black Label Society. That was interesting. So yeah, we had a very fruitful kind of time in between albums. But yeah, this is the time I like the most. When the new album is kind of hanging in the wings and people are getting excited about it. They're liking the artwork, they're liking the preview tracks, and pre-sales are flying off the virtual shelves. So yeah, it's a good time. I always enjoy this. Even 9 records in, Like it's still a thrill to create new music and like to like give it to the fans and see how they react, you know?
No, it's wonderful that the passion's still there. And you've mentioned before how as you get older as a band, you've learned to become better musicians, of course. So I was wondering, do you think that's attributed to just practicing your craft, or is it more so a maturity thing, or maybe both for you?
It's definitely both, you know. A lot has been learned over the years just by like touring and observing other bands and listening to other music and showing each other music. And we've learned from all the different people that have been through the band. You know, I feel like we took something from every player that's ever been through Black Dahlia, which has been a lot of people, you know,
Yeah.
but over the years. But they've all been awesome players, you know, they all brought something to the fold. So I'm thankful for all the ex-members, definitely. But I'm loving the lineup right now. You know, I feel like we're at a really creative high, and I think that Nightbringers was in a way kind of a rebirth for us. You know, having young Brandon Ellis come into the fold on guitar, and just offering up so much exciting music and ideas. And I feel like he's really gotten his footing since then in the band, and this album sees him kind of spreading his wings even more as far as his position in Black Dahlia Murder. And in a lot of ways, you know, he's all over this new album, you know, so it's been a really, you know, it's been awesome. There's definitely no shortage of creative juices, you know, in the band. And I really see this as a long game. You know, I feel like we're in our best form right now. You know, I feel like we've been playing the best live that we ever have. So I feel like we have a lot of years left, a lot of albums to make, you know, hopefully a lot of good music to make. And we've always been thinking long term, you know, since the beginning of the band and globally too, you know. So
I mean, you're passionate about it, you're great at it, so why not keep going, right? It's
I
kind
think
of a simple formula.
right. It kind of feels like all I know how to do now, you know, like we've been just going so hard, like tunnel vision on this band for so long. And you know, I feel like I'm just honoring the initial opportunity that we were afforded, you know, just when we got signed to Metal Blade, it was such a dream come true. And, you know, initially all I wanted was to make like one album, you know, just one record that I could like hold in my hands that was on a real label that got reviewed and, you know, could see us on tour. And it's just spiraled so far out of control since then, you know. It's just been like a snowball. Every album gets a little bit bigger. You know, it affords us new opportunities, like I was saying earlier. And Nightbringers was really big, and this one is poised to be the biggest yet. So it's exciting times, definitely.
No, it's super exciting. And one of the things I know you've noted before is how you really want this record to be like a story or a ride for the fans who listen to it. And of course, we've listened to some of the singles you've been able to put out, which have been so awesome. But I was wondering, was there a specific story? You're welcome. Was there a specific story you really wanted to put across? Like, I know it wasn't necessarily a theme, but what was that initial thing where you're like, this is the story we want to tell?
Well, there's always this underlying battle with religion, pretty much. That is kind of like something we circle back to. Um, you know, I see death metal as a rebellious music. I see it as a catalyst for free thought, and I feel like the world is definitely in the shackles of religion. You know, I feel like a lot of the problems that we have, a lot of the division in the world, stems from religion, and I feel like. So we're kind of like spreading the idea that this music is the antidote to that or the antithesis of that, you know. And with Verminous, what I'm saying is, you know, I feel like we're kind of looked at as you know, we're weirdos with our black T-shirts and, you know, our love of the macabre, and you know, we don't like fit right into the societal mold, I don't think. So I think that we're kind of seen as like as the rats and roaches of society, the creatures you don't want to see in your perfect white picket fence world.
Yeah.
And but you know, I'm kind of saying that death metal and this idea is a plague, you know, that we're spreading, and which is very timely for what's happening right now, which is you know, either like the best thing to ever happen or the worst thing that's ever, you know, it's either great timing or terrible timing. I can't decide, but you know, we
Right.
had no idea when we were writing this record, you know, and talking about all this plague talk that this coronavirus thing was going to pop off, you know, but it's definitely been weirdly synchronized, you know.
Yeah, it's very bizarre how that lined up. But hey, like you said, for better or for worse, it's a great topic to cover. And also so everyone who listens who also fits into that misfit group you're talking about, they're like, yeah, we're not alone. We're all a part of the Vermin here. So I think that's a really
Right.
great
You
position
know,
to stand.
and I think that metal feels like that. It feels like a secret, like a hidden world. And like when you kind of pull the top off of it and get exposed to it and dive into the underground, like there's no coming back. It feels like a real awareness of something, like some kind of just, to me, it's like a hidden world. So there's a lot of kind of comparisons where I'm comparing, the underground scene to actually being underground and being in the kind of sewer world that you see on the front cover of the album. So just typical Black Dahlia metaphors, always kind of speaking as the villain, always through the eyes of the villain, because I just see metal as an antagonistic music, as kind of upsetting the norm, and just the whole thing with glorifying Satan. It's not like I really believe in this big red caped guy, but I
Right.
just believe that that's the thing that pisses Christians and religions off the most, is to kind of embody the thing they fear. You know what I mean? So that's really the whole approach with death metal, as far as I see it, and kind of like the underlying ongoing message that we have as a band.
That's a really unique insight, because I've even found there are certain days I'll express myself, and let's say I'm listening to the Beatles and I'll wear something that's a bit lighter and more joyous, and then I'll literally have a day where I'll be listening to death metal and metal, and I'll wear a black t-shirt or a wrestling shirt or something that I express it that way, and you definitely get different looks from people. So I find it interesting that you bring that up, because the way you express yourself, people kind of almost pin you in that negative sense with the black shirts, if you wear the darker makeup, and it's interesting to
Right.
hear that.
Yeah, I think it's just, people are still at arm's length from the macabre side of things. I think it's really come up as far as like in pop culture, though. At least horror has. You see like Walking Dead being one of the biggest shows, around, and like 20 years ago it wouldn't have been like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that people are kind of, in one way, realizing the appeal of horror, and I think that the death metal and metal has that same kind of car crash appeal that a horror movie does, where you can't turn away. You know what I mean? It's wrong.
Absolutely.
It's bad, but it just has this like really
There's a dark luster to it almost.
yeah. It's like I think we all have that side of us that has a certain curiosity about that side of life, that definitely curious about death, and I think that really metal is just kind of flipping that whole fear on its ass, and it's just like, hey man, this is music for the villains, and we're the villains to all you guys who think we're weirdos, so fuck you, and here we are.
I love it. I really do. Well, one thing I recently discovered is that you are a big fan of Nintendo games. So I was curious, is that something you've been able to get into while having this downtime over the last week?
Yeah, I've definitely been picking up the controllers again. Definitely going back to the OG Nintendo the most. That's my favorite, where kind of my heart is. And I don't know, in a weird way, like old school video games are like a security blanket for me. Like they were my babysitter when I was 9, and they kind of give me that same satisfaction now, I guess.
Absolutely.
But now there's nothing but time on our hands. I feel like a lot of people are kind of digging back into their video game collections, and yeah, it's a good time for it's just a good activity for being isolated. Definitely. So.
No, 100%. Now, on my website, I not only interview musicians, but also wrestlers, and I'm also a host for a wrestling company. So I was curious, if you could have an in-ring persona or gimmick, what do you think that might be?
Man, has there ever been like a caveman themed wrestler that got famous?
Not that really got over,
A
no.
real prominent one, right? I feel like I kind of have the look for it already, So I think that could be my angle. I could be a caveman. I could like come out and like throw my feces, or like, conk people over the head and drag them by their hair and stuff, and
Right.
speak monosyllabically. I think it could be cool.
I'm envisioning it. I think it's a good idea.
I don't have a name at this time, but I'll put my mind to it.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll brainstorm down the line. Interview round 2, we'll figure something out.
Gotta get me out there.
Well, I just want to say, Trevor, thank you so much for hopping on here, for taking the time, and congratulations with the upcoming release of Verminous. I can't wait to hear all of it.
Thanks so much. Thanks for the kind words, and thanks for having me. Hopefully everybody stays safe out there. Play lots of video games. Yeah, man, just stay sane, do what I do, and just kind of dive into music, man. You know, take advantage of that wonderful internet that we have, and you can still communicate with your friends. And just don't panic, man. Just wait it out. Everything's gonna be all right.
Absolutely beautiful parting words. This has been the Black Dahlia Murder. I'm the interview queen, Alicia Atout. Be sure to check out aliciaatout.com for all exclusive interviews and features, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.